Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Collin Joseph Neal. I'm the director of The Anniversary, and
I'm Erin Neal. I'm the producer of The Anniversary. And so hi!
yeah, welcome to the chat room. We can't wait to watch the movie stream and do our chat. So, yeah, any questions you guys may have or anything that you want to know about the movie, the process that we went through?
Yep.
Let's go for it.
So I should start, since there aren't any questions yet that I can see, is that we started this just over a year ago. We went to a screen reading for Allison Monda, who's our writer. She invited us to a table read of the script, and that's how it kind of started. We weren't involved at all at that point. It was just some of her actor friends and then local people invited. And we went, and it was an amazing script. And we left. Collin sent her one note of feedback. I want to make this film. I want to direct this film. And like a week later, all of a sudden, we're making a film. And
just shaking of the hand and going from there.
Yep.
Yeah,
so it's been about a year, and now we're here. So
I can't wait to see what you guys have for questions on the movie. And if anytime you're thinking about like a camera shot, color, or something that went along with graphics, feel free to ask, or just kind of throw anything at us. We're ready. We're here.
Yeah, I should say just because we have you as our captive audience, that on Halloween night we're gonna actually go back to the town we shot in, Concrete, Washington, and we're gonna screen a Halloween party version of the film just for the town. And so if anybody lives in Washington State and wants to come to the Historic Theater, then you should definitely come.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, we got our first question actually from Indie Horror right now, helping us kind of explain to you guys. Tell us some of the toughest things that you ran into for making the film. So I would say finding the locations. A week before we were actually set to shoot, we had the cabin and place that the cast and crew were staying locked down, and that was it. And it was in a small town called Concrete, Washington. So we went from having one location, which was the main cabin, that was only for the last week of filming, to finding all of them in this very small town.
They were super supportive, and that was definitely a challenge, because you're set to film, you've got your entire cast and crew ready to go, they're scheduled for 18 days, and you don't know where you're going to film yet, because that was really the only way we could go. It was 90 miles away from where we live and where all of our cast and crew live, so that was one of the biggest challenges. Fundraising. We did a Kickstarter campaign, and that was a pretty difficult thing for us to do. So, it was really, really lots of fun. Do you want to manage that, or do you want to manage?
We have a second. Questions? Well, we have a second question coming in. So, from I Drive a Shitty Car. Hi guys, welcome to your Halloween party. Sounds awesome. Too bad on the other side of the country. When you went through the casting process, was it people that you knew, or did you use a casting agency? Normally what we do with our company, Faith for Straight Productions, is we hold our own casting. We'll reach out to local casting directors in town just to see who they have in mind, possibly for the genre. But we went through our own casting on Craigslist and something called TPS.
Yeah, there's a production or a casting website here locally called tpsonline.org, and we posted there. And the actors came in, they read for us. Some of the actors we knew, most of them we did not. We knew Allison, and we'd seen a couple of the others in town. Keiko had performed in one of our other shorts that we didn't direct, but we produced. So it was just a whole bunch of local actors that just all of a sudden showed up. And we're like, where did all of this talent come from that we'd never met before? So that was kind of fun to see new talent.
Another question, was The Anniversary your first feature-length film? Yes. It was for us producing and me directing. Both of us have worked on separate feature films, but that was the first one we actually got to work on together.
Yeah. I started working on productions long before I ever met Collin, doing anything from production assistant up to first assistant director. And then we're like, I kind of want to have control of my career, so let's make our own films.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, I worked on B movies that went direct to DVD with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Harvey Keitel.
Oh, we're gonna throw that card. I worked on The Ring. I helped make that video that kills you. So
there you go.
Hey, look, wine appeared in front of me. I'm going to drink this now.
Yeah.
Oh, yum yum.
What do you call it when you're no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly.
We got another question. With the Kickstarter, did you guys end up making your goal? Yes, we did. And there's a crazy story that I'll try to sum up very, precisely here.
We barely made it. We squeaked through.
It was a $30,000 Kickstarter goal, which was the bare minimum we could make the film for. We set it out to be over 45 days, and we decided that we were going to do Kickstarter events. And we started it off with an 80s horror dance party at a place called the Knock Knock Club, which doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. And
I see that.
yeah, nice. We got another quote in here. Holy the Ring. The video is awesome, and I definitely used it to creep people out.
Yes.
Yeah. She helped make that.
I know that.
Yeah, but we made the goal within the last 2 days. It was pretty crazy. We were at about 11,500. We had an angel investor come in last second. We'd never met, never talked to before. Email, then call us. He dropped 10 grand on it and said, if you can match that or guarantee you'll make it, then we'll do it. After he dropped the $10,000, within 19 hours we had left, all the other Kickstarter backers and new people started advertising it and put in the last amount. It was insane. And so with less than a few hours to go on Sunday morning, like one.
Yeah, I think we went out to breakfast with
my mom,
his mom,
yeah.
and his brother, and we were like, "We're sorry, we have to tweet. We have to tweet. I'm really sorry." And we were on social media. I mean, I think I had like 103 fever, but we were still tweeting and still Facebooking and still trying to get that money.
Yeah.
And at the 11th hour, we managed to get it.
Yeah.
We barely squeaked through, and then one backer actually increased because he decided he thought that our number wasn't even, so he wanted it to be a flat number. So he upped it. So our total, I think, was $30,700 is what we managed to raise.
It was pretty awesome. It was a fun thing because there was a lot of people in town who didn't think we'd actually make it. We got a new question. What inspired you to get into filmmaking? Any specific films that you've seen? I got into filmmaking in high school kind of by accident. I took an elective for video multimedia and ended up with a teacher who put his own money into the program named Steve Lalonde, and that's how I got my start. I used to ride my bike to a premiere video to rent old B horror movies and stuff like, God, what was the old like Race Across the U.S. movie? I can't remember.
Cannonball Run.
Cannonball Run. I used to rent movies like that because they were cheaper than renting the new films. And so it was like $1, for 3 days you get to rent a movie, and that kind of inspired me while I was in the class, like, man, I think I can make some of these. And so I started out with fun stuff with buddies in high school, and then went to college for a year to try to study it, and then came back to it over here in Seattle, Washington, and went to Seattle Film Institute and kept making movies after that. And yeah, that's how I'm here.
And I was I'd like to say I was born into it. My mom was a kind of a casting agent, and my dad was an actor, and then she got more into producing. So I've been on set since I was little. I think I was 12 before I realized that wasn't common. And then I had like one day job and realized that I didn't want to do that because it drove me crazy. So I started writing films, I started acting in films, and when I wasn't getting roles that I liked, I started producing films because I really, really wanted to be in control of where my career was directed. I like to tell people the first film I was 6 months old, with Jack Lemmon called Massive Heel, but then I've been on it ever since. He gets mad because I tell the story all the time, but my dad was on set for the Twilight Zone movie. He was a background actor, and I literally grew up in it, and I can't imagine having a life outside of it because it's too much fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But hopefully you guys definitely enjoyed the film. It looks like there might be, a 3-hour time difference, and that's why it was on at 10.
I think that's why we got confused, is because we're on the West Coast. But we're here. So
if you guys have already watched it already, or you would like to own it too, it's on vimeo.com/ondemand/the-anniversary-man. And you get the 7 music videos that are part of the actual soundtrack of the film. You get the behind-the-scenes Slate compilation, and you get God, I can't think what else. Oh, the interviews that were with cast and crew and
Yes,
other
before.
stuff like that. So
that was kind of a cool thing that we had before we get to the next question is that we have 17 local bands that contribute. 18 local bands, not including our composer who created the music that you heard throughout the film or on our soundtrack. So I just wanted to give a shout out to those bands because couldn't have made it without them.
what was the craziest thing that happened on set? Any accidents, police incidents, etc.? Oh, I like that question.
So this one is kind of funny. The van that you saw belongs to one of the bands. They gave it to us to use. They rented it to us. And there was another local in the area who had a history of drug problems. So the police showed up one night because they thought the van that was parked out front belonged to the drug problems. And they showed up with their lights and everything going, "What's going on in here? You having a party?" Ha! No, we're just making a movie. But do you want to tell Karen's story or should I?
Oh yeah, I'll jump on that one. So one of the locations that was on top of a mountain, which most people who saw the movie probably thought that was the cabin we'd actually use because it's a literal log cabin.
Beautiful.
We were looking for a shot that we could get without having a helicopter or an octocopter to raise a camera up to get that wide shot that you'll see in montages of cars driving. So we pulled over to this side road that the writer found and pointed out and said, "Let's go here." And it had all these signs saying "keep out" or dog and all kinds of bullet holes.
There were bullet holes in the keep out sign.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
It was pretty fun from there. And this gal got out of the car and said, "What the F are you doing on my property?" And
I got a dog and I got a gun.
I got a dog and I got a gun. You guys better be getting back in your car. And Erin and Allison kind of looked scared out of their minds. I kind of had a grin on my face. She had a bull
mastiff. I was convinced we were about to die.
She was in her early 60s. It was a blast. Actually, late 60s.
So we handed her a business card and said, no, we're filmmakers, I swear. And she didn't believe us at first, but she got her card. She looked at the card. It looked legit for her. So she said, "Why don't you come on up? I'll show you the totem pole I'm carving." And we went, "What?" And bless her heart, Karen became one of our hugest supporters, and we wrote a role for her in the film, the role of the grandmother when they're saying goodbye at the cabin. That's the owner of the cabin, and she is the one that made this thing possible for us. So yeah,
it was awesome.
Next question.
What kind of camera did you shoot with?
I love your name.
We actually shot with the red one with the MX sensor, if I'm saying that correctly, I hope. And our director of photography is Alan Certeza, so this was the first feature he was shooting on, and I kind of got to give a small explanation of how amazing our crew was because it was like a one-man for three-job crew. We had, I think, less than 20 on our crew, and then the cast was about 19, two of which came from Concrete, the town we filmed in. And we had a gaffer who'd never gaffed an entire feature. A gaffer, if you guys don't know what that is, he's a guy who sets up all the lights and designs it with the director of photography to make the director happy. And my God, they made me very happy. So, have you submitted your film to any festivals, or and how has it been received with fans or critics? Well, I just summed up the questions. Yeah.
I think we have submitted to a couple of festivals. One we actually were requested at. It's called It's a Film Festival. It's in Sonora. So after our screening on Halloween night, we're gonna
drive directly from
haul balls down to Northern California. We're gonna drive straight through so that we can get there and sit on the panel that we're supposed to sit on.
Yeah, we're gonna be on a panel.
And that'll be the first festival.
Yeah, and we'll be on a panel with Noel G, who
Fast and the Furious, Walking Dead, actually.
Fast and the Furious, Walking Dead.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be pretty awesome. We're excited. But as well as the reception that the fans and critics and people like that, we did our first screening with friends and family and some of the people who were in it, which nobody had seen anything but our trailers, which, if you watch, do not have a single line of dialogue other than from one actress. And it's literally her saying, "We didn't do anything." And so, we teased people with that for a year. No dialogue. And so when they all got to see it at the screening, it was new to everybody who had supported it, and the people who were in it even didn't know some of the scenes. So it was amazingly well received. I couldn't believe it. People were laughing, they were screaming and shouting at the screen like you do at home when you're like, "You stupid woman, why wouldn't you kill the killer when you're right there and the killer's on the ground passed out?
Yeah. Why
would you run towards danger instead of away from it?" We had people screaming that from the audience. And so that gave us like this huge beacon of hope for like, oh my God, we actually made a great horror film that people enjoy for that reason.
We've gotten some good feedback from the community as well. I think because we kind of pull this death proof thing where it's like the first 45 minutes of the movie are really just kind of getting to know these girls, and they've got a really excellent relationship.
Yeah.
And then all hell breaks loose and we start killing people. And I think it was shocking. I think if you've seen the film, if you watched it tonight, you saw some of the shocking moments where it's just like you have this one character and she's kind of like your lead character through a whole bunch of things, and spoiler, she dies. So it kind of shocked people. They're like, wait, what do you mean? You killed the lead girl, and so you have to find a new person to relate to. It was kind of fun that way.
It was a blast.
Has there been any independent horror movies that you've seen recently that you enjoyed and would recommend?
Oh man.
Yeah, what was independent horror films that we've seen recently? Well, there's a local one that Collin worked on right after shooting the anniversary called Ghostlight, which is written by a fellow filmmaker.
Yeah, Jeff Farrell. He's a writer-director. I went to school with him actually in 2008. We graduated from the same film school. And I got to work on it as the gaffer and do all the lighting. And we filmed it in the oldest working theater in the Northwest, the historic Everett Theater. And so it was pretty unreal just living and making a film with very small cast and crew again, and seeing it from a different perspective than the director. So it was very, very fun, for me to jump into that role. So Ghostlight, which will be screening at several different theaters throughout the Northwest, and he already signed his distribution deal for next year, so it'll be out there very soon. As in independents that I've seen recently, because I watch horror more than my wife, because we have a 6-month-old daughter. Yeah. She's not that big a fan of horror, which is funny because
she likes the anniversary. She wasn't a big fan of some of the other horror films we were watching.
For an independent, Insidious is considered an independent. We watched that recently.
That movie freaks me out.
Yeah.
That movie is what I call a shadow film, where it's super scary when you watch it and then you go to bed or you go to the bathroom late at night and you're like, I gotta turn every light in the house on because I swear this person's gonna pop out at me.
And if I was to say ones that I haven't watched recently, I would say going towards the Japanese or Korean horror film style. So you can go with the original Ring movie, Ring U, or Ring Zero, or you can go with The Eye, which is there's a Chinese version that I love, definitely over the Jessica Alba version from America. Here's another question. Is it easier or more difficult to work with family?
Yes and no.
It's a yes or no thing. Literally. I mean, it's not simple, but it's not extremely difficult. It's kind of in the middle.
I think the one thing that is different working with Collin as my business partner versus working with another business partner is he's got my back always. We may fight, but we keep that offset. We don't argue on set at all. If we need to have a discussion, we walk away from set completely so that it's not part of the set. And then, thank you. I love it. Yes. But as far as working with him, it's like if I have a problem, I can tell him anything, and if we have a problem, it's two heads are better than one is kind of the thing. We're just we're married, so
yeah, exactly.
We have to kind of work through our problems.
So
whereas if you have smack, but if you have a problem with another person that's not, say, your partner, that's like that, you can have to part ways, and it's when you're married, you have to work through it. There's not really an option.
Or it's it leads down a path that most of us don't like to talk about or see, and in filmmaking, more often than not, especially with people who aren't even actors, it's crew, it doesn't last a lot of the time. And I've heard a lot of bad stories about that, and it's because most of them aren't given the opportunity to work together as much as they want to on sets together. So we've kind of binded together to work as much as we can on projects. And we do not agree in terms of where we think business should go in certain things with certain films, and it actually works towards our benefit. Because one person usually in the end has a better reasoning and a better choice to make. And I can't thank my wife enough for giving me everything that I have today and all the drive.
You get to play each other's devil's advocate, It's like if you have a good idea, the other person has to be like, okay, prove to me that idea is worth doing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of awesome.
If you could remake a horror movie, what would you choose? Ooh.
That's a good question.
Holy crap. Well, with a giant cast and crew and a huge budget, that would be fun. Let's see here. Man, I don't know if I like the idea of remaking horror films that much, just because there's so much potential to make something new. I can't say that there's, like, you think of horror films like Insidious or Hostel or Ring You, not The Ring from America. You think of all these ones, and I don't know if I'd really want to tread on that ground unless it was, a foreign film that was wanting to be translated to America. But even then, it's so hard for me because you watch movies that...
I don't know. I'm really excited to see the remake of Carrie. I'm not going to lie. I know.
The fourth remake?
Shush you. Yeah. I'm just excited to see it. So I think that, like... I don't know, if I can remake any horror film that hasn't been remade, I'm not even sure what I would do, because there's so many good ones that I have to pick one that, like, I feel like needs to be remade, that it was too time specific.
How about The Happening? There you go. There's one that I would remake that wasn't a horror, really.
No,
trying to be scary.
Not the one with Ash with all, like, the little skeletal things. What is that one? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Sorry. Maybe one of the fans or audience members does with all the skeletons.
Yeah. The House movie that we recently saw when we were watching. Alan told us to watch it for cinematography.
House of the Devil?
Is that it?
I would not remake that. That just got made.
No. I'm going back to the independent films that we've watched recently for horror films. I think that would be a good.
Oh yeah! Holy crap! Sorry, re-answering part of the question from earlier about independence. Yeah, House of the Devil, man. That's a movie that was set in the 80s, made recently. That was shot on 16 millimeter, and it is gorgeous. Yeah.
Yep. So that would be definitely one.
The expectations are too harsh, I've always said. Madman would be the one I'd remake. Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, I would definitely say that'd be a fun try. Oh, you know what? I do have one. I would remake It. There's one that I definitely would try to do, because it's the one horror movie that gets talked about that a lot of people say it's too made for TV. It's really horrific, but it's only about the clown, really. It's too long. All these complaints, and the special effects are a little crappy.
From a modern audience.
I would love to remake It. Oh, the Langoliers. Hell yeah. Holy crap, that's hilarious. I didn't even see that.
Seriously.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome, yeah. So
right, we should totally,
Daniel and Joshua said it on Friday's chat. Yeah, join together, man. Let's
do it. Let's do it.
But let's do it as a series. No.
Stop.
Shush.
You're done.
Yeah, Langoliers, definitely. I just talked about that with a buddy too.
Because we were talking about different horror films that Stephen King had done.
For upcoming projects, right now we're actually looking for our next feature, believe it or not.
Yeah, we've got 3 scripts in our lap, none of which are horrors. One is a thriller, though.
One's a thriller, but it's more CSI oriented, so it really has a fun... On your edge of your seat, you're trying to figure out what the hell is going on because about 15 twists are about to come your way.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And then we have a script that we're in the preliminary stages of development. With 2 of them, actually. One is a car race film, and the other one is an Irish boxing heist film. So those are the 2 that are in development, but we don't have anything currently on our plate that we've signed on for yet.
Yeah, I happen to agree with your standpoint on Stephen King's TV movies. Most of them are pretty bad. The Stand is, it's too long. Yeah, speaking of TV movies, the first time I watched The Shining, I'll probably get castrated for this, but I watched The Shining on edited TV, and it took 4.5 hours.
See, that's the problem with that. If you watch anything on like an edited TV format, then you're asking for trouble. It's just
Yeah, that was, oh my god, it's just terrible. Ugh.
It's just nails on a chalkboard if you're watching a film on television, because they cut stuff out, and it's just
Yeah, definitely. For
an edited version of it, kind of like I could be completely wrong, but like a TNT thing.
I saw
just like 10 minutes of movie, 20 minutes of commercials, 10 minutes of movie, 20 minutes of commercials, where you're just like, I'm gonna kill myself. This is just crazy. I can't handle this.
He says here that there's a TV movie of The Shining. Yeah, I actually saw a couple trailers and clips from that. I like the actor that they chose to play it because he usually doesn't play anything that sinister. But my God, I could not stand to even think of watching it because it was almost as bad as what they did with Psycho. Gus Van Sant did a shot-for-shot remake, and it got like awesome accolades about being great. I was just like, oh my God, you copied shot for shot. That wasn't a remake. Stephen King hated Kubrick's film, so he put that one together. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah, a little agreement on the Psycho remake. That was just stupid. American Psycho, on the other hand, glorious. Holy God, amazing.
Any interest in making a goofy movie, something Sharknado? We do want to make a comedy.
But I don't think we'd ever go Sharknado.
I don't know if we would do something with Sharknado. We have this kind of pet peeve when they like. Well, even though we enjoy the films, the things like Scary Movie 1, 2, and 3, and 5, 7, 12, you like. They're making fun of another film, and I understand that. I totally understand the aspect of a farce.
If somebody
what drives me crazy is that it's pretty much the exact same story, but with all of these little tidbits thrown in. And I'd rather see. I haven't seen Sharknado yet, but I have seen it online. I've seen it on the Xbox. So I would be interested to see it, to see if it's a good film. Yeah. If you think it's a great film, then I'd be interested in doing something like that. Because
I think the only one I'd be interested in doing would be Piranha 3 Triple D.
It's a terrible film.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when you
I want to do goofy. I want to do comedy, but I don't know if I'd go like that. I think I would try to go more traditional comedy, even in the aspect of horror. I have a horror film that's a musical that I wrote.
It's an amazingly horrific film. You just have to watch to see how bad it is.
Nice. Okay. Well, I will take your word for it, and then maybe do that. So over the top people watch the way. Well, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
no, but I actually have kind of a goofy film that I wrote when I was in high school, so it's kind of old school, but it's a horror film that takes place in a movie theater, but it's a musical.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of a silly film to make, but we got to see what comes next,
Yeah.
To make sure that we're...
Yeah, like I said, the only one that I would do that would be pushing it a little far would be the Piranha, to make the trilogy complete, because I actually really enjoy Piranha 3D and the Piranha Double D. Oh my God, I could not stop laughing, and I actually thought they were really entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we could work with any actor or actress, who would it be? If I had to work with an actor, it'd be two people. It would be Terrence Howard, and it would be Dustin Hoffman. If I had to work with an actress, it would be Naomi Watts, and it would be able to work with Kerry Washington again.
I like Joan Allen. I think I love her a lot. A lot of you will recognize her from The Crucible or from the Bourne series. And then as far as actors, I know this sounds weird, but Johnny Depp, mostly because my daughter is obsessed with Captain Jack Sparrow. She's 7 months old, and if she's crying, he makes her stop crying. So
we'll just hire Tim Burton, and we'll get to work with Johnny Depp again.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
No.
No flying piranhas. No. Would your piranhas fly like James Cameron's? No. Stop that.
No. My piranhas wouldn't fly like James Cameron.
You need to raise the bar. Thank you very much.
No. I would do practical effects for the entire film, and if the 3D was there, it would be the first time 3D was done without CGI.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah. No more Tim Burton.
Zombies are so popular right now, especially with The Walking Dead. Are you fans of zombies, or are they just overdone at this point? I think zombies done correctly at this point are awesome. There is a fabulous short film out of Australia. I'm sure you've seen it. It's called Cargo. And it's a zombie film.
Yeah.
And every single person I've seen watch this film has cried. It is phenomenal.
Let's see if we can find it.
Colin can find it. We're going to post it for you guys.
It's called Cargo, right?
It's called Cargo, and it's out of Australia. And it's really well done.
Oh, hell yeah.
There it is.
Let's see if I can post in here at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't want to
we'll
log
have to figure out how to do that. But
oh, man, that's bad.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah. Well, maybe I can log in with Facebook at the same time. We'll see. Yeah.
So, while Colin tries to figure that out, I'm just going to keep talking about zombie movies. We just recently watched World War Z, and I know that the film got a lot of slack for it. We watched it with 6 adults. None of us had seen it on our Xbox, like, I don't know, 2 nights ago. Well, for a little while ago. And it was amazing to watch because the thing that it did, even though there's elements.
Oh, hold on a second. Sorry. There we go. Now
Okay.
it fixed.
The thing that it did that was kind of awesome for us was that it kind of it kept us on our seats at the end of it.
Yeah, sorry about the echo. We were trying to log in and share that link with you guys at the same time, and for some reason it wasn't letting us. Won't do that again. Apologize. Yeah. Got it all figured out. You guys are good.
I think so. Yeah. All right. So we've seen a couple, and if you've seen Warm Bodies, awesome. If you haven't, go see it. I think a zombie movie done well is always worth doing. I think a zombie movie that's being done just because you're a fan of zombies is not necessarily that's not a good enough reason.
Yeah.
It's got to be a good story. It's got to be a unique twist. We've seen zombie movies for decades now. It has to be done right.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Now I got rid of that. Good to go. Now for my end of zombie six for the book.
I'm done.
I love zombie movies, period. Most of them are fantastic, except for the new ones with Romero. Oh my God, he just needs to stop. Even though he's kind of the genius and the god of zombie films, I'm really tired of his name getting associated with just crap. You know, Walking Dead is kind of awesome if you like Lost and zombies mixed together. It works well. It's got some great actors like Norman Reedus. Thank God they kept him in there. They were going to kill him off. But I love things like 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later. Freaking amazing for a sequel. Just awesome. And so, I mean, there's all kinds of things with zombie movies that I absolutely love. And especially here in the Northwest or any state, for that matter, in the U.S., there's always a ghost town or a small town that you know of that hasn't been quite updated. Just film one there, man. Have fun with it. Zombie movies, I could never get tired of. It's kind of funny because they're in the horror genre, but they're not the exact same thing.
We had one that was shot here in the Northwest locally called Zombies of Mass Destruction, and it's kind of campy, but it's super fun.
Oh, let's see here. It happens to be the best with, or it happens to all the best directors: Romero, Craven, Carpenter. They seem to fall off a cliff in terms of film quality, and then they become resigned to selling their name as producers of terrible low-budget films. I happen to agree with that. What types of zombies do you like better, infection style or old school zombies? I absolutely hate to see running, climbing on wall zombies. It's not realistic to me. Lots of zombies can be realistic. To answer that, we actually just had like a film kind of party with our buddies for World War Z. Yeah, I mean, it was hilarious, but... Oh, sorry.
I just talked about that. I think it really kind of depends on where they go with it, because zombies in the traditional sense, that means that they rise from the dead. They're out of the grave. They're not necessarily an infection. If they're an infection, it's a completely different thing, and I think that gets lost on the modern audience. They don't necessarily understand that, so we kind of merged the two genres of infection and zombie, and they became one thing.
Yeah.
So it really, like... what's the one with, the Crazies was an infection zombie film, and it was frightening and really well done, but it was an infection, so.
Yeah.
There you go.
I like the infection new style stories. Original zombies, there really wasn't an explanation other than they're just the Walking Dead, and usually they used religious references, which is great.
The Spanish movie.
Shit, there you go.
What the hell is that called?
Rec 3, sorry. One of the best current zombie movies, which is not necessarily zombie, it's true Walking Dead. If any of you get the chance to watch it, Rec 3, literally, REC 3.
It is a Spanish film, but it's phenomenal. I mean, you're going to have to read subtitles.
It's Italian. I thought it was
Spanish.
I can't remember.
It's European. Whatever. Watch it. It's amazing.
It's not whatever.
Because we're going to argue about it.
Yeah. Special effects, do you prefer to use practical or CGI?
Practical.
I am on the opposite. I am kind of middle at the same time. I love practical. but I've been able to see what CGI can do to modify and add CGI to a little bit of the practical effects, like in Anniversary. There's practical effects that you would never know were there's practical effects mixed with visual effects or CGI that you would never know. But I'm going to give it away now. When the hand of one of the girls gets stabbed with a knife from under the bed, we did not have the success of the gushing blood that we wanted to sliding up with it. So we hired a visual effects artist who was doing our credit intro and asked him to kind of add just a little bit more spice to that blood coming out of her hand. And sure enough, he added just the right amount of like a small fountain of blood that was just dark black and red. And when it came up, even the special effects artist said, "Oh, I don't remember doing that. Man, it really turned out great." So even the special effects artists weren't able to tell that that was something that, was added. In other scenes, you could pretty much tell if you really look closely, like when one of our actresses, Keiko Green, was smashed and her neck broken with a window, the blood splattered across the screen. That was definitely not something we did there.
Okay, that's good. I would say that I would go practical first, and then if it doesn't,
If you have to.
practical first if you can. Because it's going to cost you about the same amount of money. And then if it doesn't quite get to the point where you want it to be, then go CGI. The problem with going straight CGI is you don't have a lot to build on. That's why you see a lot of, even the high-end CGI films like Avatar, they start with the practicals and they film the actors and then cover them with the skin. So that's why I would say practical first, CGI as a backup. Pound them carrots.
How's those carrots?
My friends are over. The godparents of our child.
Yeah. Are there any horror trends you wish would go away? I would actually say the immense gore films that are becoming their own genre. When it's literally, when someone refers to a movie, they go Saw 6 or 7 or Saw 3D, and they go, it's gore. There's no horror aspect to it anymore. It's Hostel 3. It's a made-for-TV horror film or made for, direct to DVD. And although we like some of the practical effects that are in it, it's just pure blood and guts for the sheer sake of pure blood and guts. There's no twist anymore. Yeah.
We like movies that are scary, because those are the movies that stick with you longer. They're the movies that you recommend to your friends and family, and you recommend to the people that aren't necessarily horror fans.
So, are there any horror trends you wish would go away? That's why I said gore, definitely. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any trends per se that I would necessarily want to see go away, because there's a lot of different filmmakers out there that I like what they do, even though if it's not necessarily something that I would do.
TV shows that are going to choose horror, but they don't push it enough. Meaning that it's like pretty horror film.
Oh, okay. Well, for that, yes.
Yeah.
The glamorous 1920s monsters. I'm so sick of the Twilight vampires. I am tired of the Beverly Hills vampires.
That are getting
or
put into
the werewolves that are from Beverly Hills, where they're just like, oh my god, I got my manicure today. Oh, I'm gonna go suck somebody dry. You're just like, that's gross, first of all. And second of all, why would you do that? Stop with the sparkly vampires, Hollywood. Stop that.
It's one of the things probably why I'm one of the one of the few people that is a filmmaker, but I don't know how many people like it, but True Blood. I'm not a fan. I just do not care about the show at all. It's too much. It's just stupid. In my opinion. It offers jobs to filmmakers, so I like that, but at the same time...
I refuse to see Centipede. I refuse to see it. It just makes me ill.
I feel like that things have been super desensitized by the really crazy violence. Saw, Hostel, that's one thing, but Serbian film, Human Centipede, grotesque or nasty, and don't even move the needle for people anymore, which makes a movie like Hellraiser seem too tame. Yeah, it does.
I would agree. I would agree with that entirely, which is frightening.
Well, I have experience watching these, so I was going to say, a little more of a say on this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I happen to love Hostel, not for some of the gore in it. Towards the end, it got a little full of itself, with one of the gore scenes in particular that wasn't really scary because an actor kind of, pardon my language,
just go there.
Fucked up his acting badly. But the twist at the end of Hostel is well worth the delivery of watching the whole film. The first Saw, absolutely amazing. Again, twist, amazing, and the whole film itself just put together so well. But Serbian film, Human Centipede, even a film from the 80s, if you get the chance to watch and you can stomach it, Cannibal Holocaust. I had to watch it based on rumors and buddies, saying not watch it. Because that's how you get me to watch a movie, by telling me not to watch it.
Yeah.
Cannibal Holocaust is one of the films that is considered to be snuff, and because it is. It literally has stuff that in it is real, with animals being butchered and cut open and all that disgusting, joy to see on camera that are, endangered species. And then you have people that are real getting cut up and everything, and camera's not cutting, and it was shot on film, and it's in the 80s, and so you have no idea what's real and what's not. So some of those are, among those amazing films, but at the same time, did someone need to really push those boundaries that much? I've met Diodato, and he's like the kindest, most gentle old man ever. It's interesting, the crazy fucking people can put into film. Yeah, I really agree with that. It is crazy the shit people put into film. Just like the first time I'd ever watched a true gore film, it was a small amount of gore, but Cabin Fever. I loved Cabin Fever's story. I really did. It was the typical teens going to a cabin and everything. And then it just went to this whole nother area that nobody was ready for in the theater. And that was, God, what was that, early 2000s? Yeah, 2002?
Yeah.
Man, that blew my mind. And it's sad because I compare that to Cannibal Holocaust, and it's like a fucking baby. But I watched it.
Now you're okay with it.
Yeah, a little okay with cursing, sorry. But... Man, it's
just. I would agree with that. The problem is that our contemporary audience requires so much more hand-holding than they used to for horror films. It used to scare them, and it used to be like you could scare them by a bah. But now you've got to really you've got to have a good story, you've got to have a great twist, you've got to have all of these elements into it that you didn't necessarily have to have when horror films were really becoming more of a popular thing.
Yes, and stop the found footage crazy shaky cam, please. Oh my God.
Oh well, that's actually a good that's a good segue into one of the things for the anniversary. Every single shot in that film is on a shoulder cam. There is not a single. What? Oh.
There is tripod, yes.
One tripod.
No, there's a few.
Okay, well.
But
then you just...
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
I'm just going to sit back here.
Yeah. No, most of the shots in the anniversary, about 95% of them were shoulder cam or steady cam. And this was something that the DP and I had agreed on beforehand, so that we could work together to kind of put that baby to sleep that a lot of people always thought that, how did you get it to shake, or why did you go handheld, or why did you do this, or that happens when you go handheld. It doesn't. You really have to shake the hell out of the camera to get those movements that you see in like District 9 and any movie with that Paul Greengrass was behind. Not to say his movies aren't entertaining, just my God, I can't see, and why would you spend that much money?
If you can't see what the actors are doing or what's supposed to be happening,
or the fight choreography,
why did you pay a fight choreographer in the first place? It's just ridiculous. We just shot a sci-fi film, and there's a shipwreck. And we actually needed that because it's a freaking shipwreck.
So we needed a vibration that was like an earthquake
that looked like it. And we really had to try hard. So I don't understand this Bourne ultimatum, oh my God, I can't see what's going on crap. I just don't understand it, and I really want to punch DPs in the face when that happens.
But we're going to catch up here. Sorry about some of the comments we got here. Why don't you read off the feel nowadays?
I feel the audience nowadays requires way too much explanation. Also, whatever happened to letting your imagination play it out? Could not agree more. It doesn't matter if it's a horror film or if it's a romantic comedy or whatever it is. Less is more. Because then the audience gets more involved and they actually react more strongly to it. They did some I don't know where I saw this scientific study. I'm sure it was on, I Love Science or something. But they did a study about it where people reacted to images that they saw, and when they saw less, their mind had to create what was missing. And if you show less, then the audience is more involved. They're more invested in your film.
Which is the one good thing about Blair Witch Project. Not the shaky found footage, but the left up to the imagination to try to figure out what the hell is going on. It's one of the reasons why it's funny, like saying shaky cam. Paranormal Activity is not shaky cam, and it's that reality found footage style. But I give a lot of prompts to the way that movie had made its way into theaters, and the trilogy, not the fourth movie. God, leave that frickin' fourth movie out. The three of them interconnected over 3 decades, and the way it was written, and if you pay attention and appreciate it as a filmmaker, not necessarily just as an audience member, you can love them. But those movies themselves show you specifically that found footage doesn't need to shake all over the damn place. Yeah.
I like this question, and I'm going to read it in its entirety because I love both ways that you phrase this. What advice would you give to inspiring filmmakers? I mean, aspiring. Sorry. I think both are true because I think independent filmmakers that are coming up are inspiring as well as aspiring. My best advice is just make your movie, man. Get together the people that you know and just start making movies, because if you sit and wait for it to happen, it will never happen. There's too many other people with cell phones making movies right now, and you gotta start making movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Start making movies.
My advice would be to always pay attention and listen, and if you're going to go to film school versus just go right into filmmaking, make sure that you're going to film school because you need the motivation. I, for one, definitely needed it. And I met some of my lifelong friends. I got very lucky. It doesn't happen to everybody, but I met my wife through the program. And I have a great life that I can appreciate because of it. And, some of our closest friends that I graduated with are actually here tonight out at the fire.
I didn't go to film school.
But if you want that motivation, if you need the help, if you need the push, and you get lucky enough with a great class and great teachers, do it. If you don't need that motivation, if you know you want it, and you're not just saying it because you're like, I'm going to be a director and that's all I'm going to do, because that is not the way that I started out. I just wanted to work on sets. That's
you wanted to be a casting director.
Casting director.
I went, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you think you can just do it without, then do it without. There's always Craigslist. There's always places like TPS that we said here up in the Northwest. There's places people can learn.
Performers is another one locally.
There's places all these people can learn all these great things from sets. You can be a production assistant, but you need to push. You need to always make sure people remember you. I
have 2 more points that I'd like to answer to that question. The first one is, don't go out and be a director first. There's bound to be somebody in your area making a movie right now. See if you can get on their set as a production assistant and learn what it's like to be from the ground up. Learn what it's like to not be the guy in charge, and watch and learn everything you see as that production assistant. The second thing is, don't be afraid to ask. The reason I actually fell for this kid is we lost a location on that first film that we needed. It was a student film, and they didn't know they were supposed to get permits, and they didn't know a whole bunch of things that they were supposed to do. So they lost the location, and he goes and knocks on some random dude's door and says, hey, we're making a movie. Can we film in your front yard? Never be afraid to ask, because the same thing happens when you don't ask. Nothing. The worst thing they can say is no, which is the same answer if you didn't ask in the first place. So always ask.
Yep, basically.
Any final questions? I don't know why I did it like that, but whatever.
Well, because, that's in the chat room.
Because when I'm not producing, I'm an actor, that's why.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the advice I have to give was basically on that. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for
guys.
Us.
Yeah,
thank you for watching our movie. Yeah. Please share it with your friends. I know Halloween's coming up, and that means that it's time to watch horror films with your friends. If you like what we did, please, please, please share it with people you think would enjoy it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, I Drive for Shitty Gar. Yeah. We really appreciate your questions.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Where can people get a copy again? On Vimeo.com/on On Demand / The Anniversary, spelled just like the anniversary. Yeah, it's really easy to find, or you can search through, Google. Go faithversusfateproductions.com, which is our company. So it's really easy to find there. You can search it on Facebook, anything. Just search Faith versus Fate, even. Which is easy.
It'll be easier because there's so many films titled The Anniversary to either go to the Vimeo link you suggested or look up our company, Faith versus Fate Productions, because then you'll be able to find everything.
Yeah.
So thank you again for having us. We really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks again, guys.
Because I'm a weirdo. Whatever.